um, Serhii Sivkach, I think I got it, Serhii Sirkach, who is the head of Ukraine Invest, to make some opening remarks. We've worked really hard to make sure anything we've done on Ukraine has had significant Ukrainian representation, including in the Commission. And every seminar we've done had significant Ukrainian voices and presence, because we know it's really important. So, Serhii, thank you for being here. I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Daniel. Can you hear me well?
Yep.
Yeah. So, thanks to CSIS for doing this report. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for having me. I think it's an excellent report, and I would probably sign every letter and put my signature under every word that is in this report. It's a very good combination of ideas and a solid call for action. And this is what we need to have now. Ukraine has suffered a lot during the last 11 months. We will be going into our, unfortunately, anniversary of the beginning of this war. So we have to fight back. We have to fight back not only in our front lines, but we have to fight back economically. And that is the key. Because Ukraine cannot go back to old-fashioned business after the war will end. We have to transform our economy. And that's why I would like to start with the title of this report. It's called Transformation of Ukraine. So I thank you very much for that word. Many people talk about reconstruction or rebuilding of Ukraine. No, we cannot reconstruct or rebuild Ukraine to the level of raw materials exporting country. We have to transform our economy. We have to transform our economy into modern economy that will be equivalent to those countries that Daniel has mentioned, or to any other developed countries throughout the world. That is important. Topics that were raised in the report are very important. Coordination of activities, process of reforms in Ukraine, tackling corruption, effective rule of law in the country, privatization, digitalization, you name it. You have it all in your presentation. But what is more important, and I began with that, it's call for action. We need to start acting now. We cannot wait till the end of the war. We need to create programs right now. We need to think about programs. That's why your proposal to create a special envoy in EU is very important. I think these special envoys have to be created in every G7 country, and Ukraine specifically. That's why Ukraine initiated a process to create a fund for reconstruction or development of Ukraine, or transformation of Ukraine, because we have to sit down around the table and think, how are we going to transform Ukraine? We also need to think whether this is about Ukraine or European order and global order, because I don't think that this is a local war that affects Ukraine only. We have to reconsider how European countries and other countries from throughout the world are paying for energy supplies. Why aggressor was able to receive $1 billion a day for their energy supplies? How they use this money? They've used this money to build weapons and to attack democracy. Why Ukraine was attacked? Not because of some false statements about lack of democracy or abuse of Russians in Ukraine. No, Ukraine was only attacked because we have made our choice, European choice. And Russia was afraid that we will go away from them, that we will not be anymore ex-Soviet Union country, that we will become a country in Europe, a developed country, a member of OECD club, a member of the global democratic community. That is important. So attack was made on Ukraine, but the real attack was on democratic worlds. So that's why we are thankful for all developed countries throughout the world that support Ukraine. We are thankful to military support, social support, economic support. But this is not the end of our cooperation. It's just the beginning. We have to become members of European Union, and all businesses that will participate in reconstruction of Ukraine will have to get benefits, will have to get profits. They will have to operate in effective, modern European country. Today, I'm in Vienna. I am attending a conference where about 1,500 people from financial world are coming to Vienna, to talk about latest economic developments. And I have met today, 10, 15 investment bankers. And they all tell me that every meeting with private investors they have ends or starts with Ukrainian topic. Even if the meeting was devoted to another topic, everyone is interested. That is a signal of a strong attention to Ukraine. That is a signal that private investors, they feel interest, they see potential in cooperation with Ukraine. So now we have to think how to facilitate that. And ideas that are embedded in report are very sound. And I like that these ideas suggested to begin implementation at the beginning of 2023. This is when we have to start doing so. I would like to tell you about one of my recent experience in December 2023. I visited a conference in France on rebuilding Ukraine. President Macron made his opening speech, and then he passed the floor to President Zelensky, who was participating online. President Zelensky, he couldn't start his speech. More than 700 businesses, business leaders, CEOs, owners, they stood up, and there was a standing ovation to President Zelensky for 5 or 7 minutes.
Wow.
And they stopped only because President Zelensky he couldn't wait, so he started to talk. That is a signal of strong support and admiration of President Zelensky actions and actions of people of Ukraine, because we fight for our democracy as one Ukrainian family. And the idea that comes to my mind, and this is maybe something that may be missing in report, the role of private business right now. There are private companies that already can start thinking about doing business in Ukraine. They can start planning investment projects. They can evaluate opportunities in Ukraine right now. And that would be a very strong signal for Ukraine. I can salute Irish global company Kingspan. They already announced big investment project of Ukraine. They will invest more than 200 million euros, and they will build the biggest technological campus in Ukraine. We support them as Ukrainian West, and they also called their project in Ukraine Sirche. Sirche, translated from Irish, means freedom. So they are really keen to support Ukraine, but they also understand that the profits in Ukraine will be good and their business will be profitable. So for me, for people of Ukraine, for President Zelensky, for all governments of Ukraine team, the best and strongest ovation right now will be interest of biggest American companies, international companies in Ukraine. You can start planning your investment today. It doesn't take a lot of money. It takes time, but it will take only 1 or 2% of the overall cost of the investment project to go through your investment planning stage. So we encourage you to do that. We are always open to cooperation. We're always open to cooperation with CSIS and other partners throughout the world. Trust me, any company that will start planning business in Ukraine will not only do a good, admirable thing, the company will also never regret its business decision. So I will stop here now. We'll be happy to answer any questions, or just I will pass on my contact details to organizers. If anyone wants to inquire about opportunities in Ukraine, please do so.
So Sergey, thanks a lot. That was fantastic. So a couple things. One is I've gotten the agreement of all the commissioners to re-up for much of 2023. So this is a report of the commission. So we're going to be continuing to work. So one of the asks I'd have you as Sergey is give CSIS some homework assignments, and we're available to help you on an ongoing basis. And I want to speak on behalf of the commission that there is an eagerness to be helpful to the Ukrainian cause, and so we're going to be looking for opportunities to be helpful to you and to the Ukrainian government. One of the things we're thinking about is hosting a conference later in the spring of American businesses focused on reconstruction and investment. And so I hope you'll come to that, and I'll come back to you about that. But I hope you'll pencil in the first half of May, potentially in the U.S., if we can get you to come and help us bring some Ukrainian businesses and some decision makers to, because we want American businesses to be a big part of the reconstruction.
Absolutely, you can count on us, and we will do whatever possible to present you a new Ukraine, because trust me, Ukraine already went through a very serious transformation during the last 11 months. And things like corruption and ineffective state administration, rule of law, they will be under very serious scrutiny, not only by government, not only by president, but also by people of Ukraine, by all those defenders that are defending our country right now. They will come back to their homes, and they will have zero tolerance to all practices.
So Sergei, could you talk a little bit more about the governance and rule of law issues? I think there's been significant progress. One of the things we talk about in the report is there's been significant progress around issues of governance and rule of law since 2014. I think one of the reasons is that Ukraine has a very active civil society, and that they're an important watchdog, as you were saying. What message do you want to give to folks, and you've mentioned this now, but how should investors think about rule of law and governance issues in Ukraine? And how does that fit into things like EU accession or OECD accession? Because it seems to me that those are going to be vectors or ways in which major improvements or further progress will be made in the areas of governance and rule of law as part of EU accession. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely, and we'll still have to do a lot, but Ukraine has improved a lot, as I said. We can see on daily basis cases being conducted by National Anti-Corruption Bureau, and I can see some high-level people that being investigated, like members of parliament, high-level officials, people that have to be transparent. And if they are accused and if there will be prosecution, they have to be sentenced. We have to be clear here. So people of Ukraine, in first instance, people of Ukraine, not even investors, people of Ukraine, they want to see justice. And I'm sure that government of Ukraine, our top political management understands that, and they will be able to deliver on that.
Good. My other question for you is about the size of state-owned enterprises in the economy. Could you talk about, Sergei, it's easy for us to sit for me to sit in an ivory tower in Washington thinking deep thoughts about reforms. It's another thing, given all that's going on right now in Ukraine, but it seems to me that one of the challenges when the opportunity comes is going to be how you take on the fact that there's a very large state-owned enterprise sector in the economy. How are you all thinking about this issue?
Well, the answer is clear, and Ukraine was always active in privatization process. We have a new head of State Property Fund of Ukraine. He said that it's a very good message that he said. He said that in Ukraine, we will privatize everything except for dignity. And this is a good message, so we're happy to do that. There will be, of course, a couple of national champions left as a state-owned enterprises, strategic companies, strategic for economy of Ukraine. But the rest of the companies, they will be privatized. We already have about 7 big SOEs. They will be, they're waiting for privatization at the beginning of the year or second half of the year. And there will be hundreds of smaller size SOEs that will be privatized. In Ukraine, we have more than 3,000 SOEs, but more than 1,000 are already insolvent. So we are being left with about 2,000 SOEs that have to be privatized. They have to be privatized, or we can go through a concession, for example. So we can have investor who will invest in Ukraine. He will have investment obligation, but also state of Ukraine will understand that this company has been given to a private investor, not just for him to keep it to some point, but to invest right now. And we already seen that beginning of the year, several auctions were conducted. Second half of the 2022, also hundreds of auctions were conducted. I have read your comments, well, your team's comments about banks. I agree with that. Banking system in Ukraine has to be private, and we need to see competition between them, because competition, economic competition, brings prosperity, brings strategy, and brings innovations and good services.
Good. Well, look, Sergey, we really appreciate your time. We know you only had a little bit of time. Obviously, if you could stay for the rest of the panel, you're welcome to, but I know you have some other things you may have to attend to. We really appreciate it. Can I ask everybody in giving Sergey a round of applause? Thanks, Sergey. I hope to see much of you in 2023. Thanks for being with us today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your cooperation and support.